I always try to live myself as best as I can by this standard, which is be careful of the words that you speak because you never know who's watching or listening. But I was very intrigued to find out that Joseph Solomon watched a video that I did 3 months ago, responding to someone on YouTube in the chat in one of my live streams who asked a question and wanted me to look at some tweets he made about the faith. And so I gave some of my thoughts on it. And to my surprise, Joseph Solomon actually commented on my video recently. Again, this was 3 months ago. And so we're going to talk about that. And he also released a video, which I feel it wasn't a response to my video, but it was a response to various videos of people who are giving commentary on Joseph Solomon. So we're going to go into that and watch his video. I'm going to react to that. And I'm going to pull up the comments that he left on my video. But before we do me a quick favor. Make sure you all hit that thumbs up, like this video, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell. So let's get into it. A couple days ago, he commented, I appreciate the charitable disposition. Thank you for not chiming in on on statements that you didn't feel you understood what I meant. I don't get the disingenuous statement. So I made a point in there and I used the word disingenuous toward the end of the video. He said nothing about what I said was disingenuous then or now. And so my response simply to him, just to, I think, summarize this is I apologize because it was an off the cuff. I didn't take time to prepare my words or thoughts. I used the word disingenuous, but that wasn't the correct word because the word disingenuous pretty much implies that someone isn't being authentic or they're, for lack of better words, capping. And that wasn't what I felt in my heart. I feel like he had enough of an understanding of the scriptures, at least what the Bible is calling for believers to be, to not come away with the view that he had that he posted on Twitter. That was my view of it. So I said disingenuous. What I was basically getting at is, for me, it was more confusing. I should say it was more confusing because I just didn't understand. Kind of similar to the other statements where there were things he said I just didn't understand. And you know what? I didn't comment on them. So I feel like I got that right. And I don't think that word choice was charitable. So I do apologize. And I do mean that. Again, I never actually reacted to when this all first happened. I purposely don't do that. I genuinely try to avoid those things unless it somehow is relevant to what I'm doing. There have been people that I've had on this channel. There's been a person I had on this channel that left the faith, and I didn't make a video about it. I offered to the person to have a conversation, not even necessarily that has to be live streamed, but offline. And I'm not one that does that, but I do want to make this video because I think it is in direct reference to some of the comments.
But let's first talk about why I didn't leave the faith. Because there are three main reasons why people have been assuming that I left Christian faith. And not just on me, but on many people. I've seen videos on TikTok and YouTube, tweets, all these different posts, not about me specifically, but just in general about people leaving the faith. And there's this need for Christians, many Christians, not all Christians, but many Christians, to try to do away with the gray or to try to build some straw man argument up and then tear it down. And this conversation makes other Christians feel good, but it doesn't actually explain real experiences of people who left the Christian faith.
Now, I've seen the same trend too. So to his credit, he's pointing out a very serious issue, I think, that followers of Christ, that they display on a daily basis that I've seen. He's pointing out a behavior that many followers of Christ, professing Christians, I feel fall victim to, which is assuming, like making assumptions as to why somebody would make such a huge decision like that. And sometimes assuming the worst, sometimes just going completely off the wall. And you're going to hear that in just a second, but he's completely right. 100% co-sign that.
And so if you're not actually concerned with why people want to leave Christian faith, then cool. But don't go and make up reasons why.
Completely agree.
And maybe these reasons are true for some people, but for a lot of people, especially for me, it's just not true. One, people assume that you left because of church hurt.
Now, I've made that comment. I may have even said that comment on the video that he commented on where I mentioned church hurt. Not necessarily as the exclusive reason. Again, I'm just going off of memory because I reacted months ago. But I think even just looking at that tweet that you gave, there did seem, in that context of the tweet that you put out that I reacted to, I do feel that it was a fair conclusion to say that there had been some church hurt and connecting it. And you were connecting hurt, trauma to religion, at least in my perception. I could be wrong on that. And I'm totally down for being wrong about it because I don't know you. So I don't want to speak on that. But maybe that's just a facet of something you're addressing now, being removed for X amount of time from the faith, that you're able to see these other things too, or maybe you always knew about them, but you're speaking now from that position versus being as one in the faith, in the church. So it probably makes sense. I'm not going to, I'm going to be, again, I'm trying my best to, I'm seeking for understanding versus trying to pick apart things. And that's not my purpose with this video. I don't want to pick apart what you're saying, but I honestly want to understand it so we can grow, because that's the whole purpose of this. But I can see sometimes we say things, and because of social media, it's condensed format, especially Twitter. Even if you put out a thread, with that condensed format, it's easy for things to be perceived one way versus another, or even content that we may make where we speak about issues in the church. And I think that that would be my, not counter, but that would be something I would say maybe to consider too, is that you gave commentary on various things in the church because you're a very thoughtful person. I love that about you. But I think, and you gave commentary even after, making that decision, that the shift in your life. So I think that one is a little more, again, we don't know. You didn't say it. So I get that point. I agree with you, but that is a little bit safer of an assumption to have than the other things you're going to name, which I completely 100% am on board with you. I don't even get where those things come from.
He left because, he felt the pain of people. I don't know, something they make up. I don't know.
Yeah, well, I will give you that. We do make up all type of nonsense without even knowing you. So that's where I'm like, I have no right to decide what the reason was you left. You have the full space to do it. And you even talked about how you didn't feel comfortable right off the bat going into depth, but it was like, this is what I'm doing.
I don't know where I got that from. Have I had unpleasant experiences in the church? Absolutely. Who has not?
Correct.
Been offended, been betrayed, been annoyed by people in the church, whether they're just common church goers or church leadership. Everyone has experienced, if you've been in the church any length of time, that's just life. People are going to hurt you. So if you spend most of your life in the church, you're going to have church hurt. And some people's church hurt is more traumatic than others, but everyone has church hurt. So yeah, have I had unpleasant experiences? Yeah, but it's not the people per se, or the experiences, or people treating me badly, or me having, losing faith in people or whatever. All those things happened. And I'm sure I've been the cause of someone's church hurt at some point. None of those things, it's not the ultimate reason why I left.
Now, just giving you my perspective on this real quick, I think why people conclude that is, again, like I mentioned about you having those conversations and pressing into that, I think is one reason someone may come to that. But I think also when you have that out in the forefront and people know that you are pushing back against the various issues that you're seeing, and in being completely transparent about your church hurt that you've experienced in different platforms or whatever, I think that's why people make that connection, because then they're saying like, oh, maybe this opened up a window for the actual reasons that you got to, which, I mean, again, it's all assumptions, but people on the outside looking in, I think we all want to find answers to stuff that we don't understand. So it's human nature, but I don't think it's Christ-like for us to come to conclusions without it allowing you that space. And if you never give that space, then it is for us, to move on with our lives, obviously with you in our regards as best as we know how. But I do think that we do owe you that space.
The second reason that people throw out is that, he left because he's got caught up in the whole idea that probably that the Bible is the white man's religion. And I'm going to show the common thread in all three of these reasons after I give all three of them.
Now, again, for my context, because I only reacted to the tweet, you were talking about some type of oppression to your people, which we and you were talking about Black people. So I think you're such a multifaceted person that people are trying to interpret you, and you're also artistic. You have a very tasteful, artistic approach in how you communicate, which I love. Very poetic. You're a very good communicator, but you're also a very poetic communicator too. I mean, you're a poet. You're an artist. You're so talented, bro. So like, I do think that there is an aspect of maybe, one, I know you haven't really dived into the reason as in depth, but I do think that there is an aspect of people maybe not knowing how to differentiate those facets of you. Whereas like where you're sitting down like this, is just so clear, straight to the point, a lot more easy. You're quickly saying no to this isn't why, and this isn't why. And I get that. But I do think I could see how someone could pull from things you've posted, things you've talked about, how these things could factor in. But again, we have to listen. The whole thing I want everyone watching this isn't a response for Joe, but this is a response for the church. We have to listen better.
Which I think is very interesting. The second reason is that people think that I left because of because of the racial divide within the cultural wars within the church and within the country, and I don't know, I felt betrayed by white evangelicalism and blah 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 blah. And I'm like, I have a lot of problems with white evangelicalism, but I know how to separate the two. I understand that the Bible, Jesus, Christianity is not inherently a white man's religion. The fact that I even have to say this as if I'm not saying anything deep or
he's not. But for some people that might be. I want to skip ahead because I want to get to that last reason, because I think the last reason is the most. I want to skip ahead to that last reason.
3, which has a spectrum, but people think it's because, and they'll attribute this to a lot of people. They think that I left, and many people leave Christianity because they want to go and sin. They couldn't bear the weight of their sin anymore, and they want to go out and sin, specifically sexual sin. I don't know.
Now, this is such lazy thinking on our part. This is just lazy thinking on Christians' part. And the common thread I'm seeing through this, he's going to talk about what the common thread he perceives, but what the common thread that I perceive is lazy thinking. Lazy thinking on the part of the followers of Christ. Some, I can't speak for all, but I can speak for myself. Lazy thinking. It's lazy thinking. It's the simple answer.
Why that's like the thing, like everyone is like, yo, they want to go out and have sex, guiltless, shameless sex. Christians.
Now, there are some that do. We can't just, but is that the narrative for all? Of course not. And so we shouldn't assume that that's the narrative for all. But for some, there is. Just like there's, it's so many reasons someone could leave the faith. But we should listen. Again, key word, listen.
Ironically, as pure as Christians want to be, Christians can be very hyper-focused on sex.
No, that's facts. That's facts, bro.
For whatever reason, they're like, oh, he just wants to go out and have sex. And particularly, this is what's kind of thrown me off, which has been wild. I will say this is a minority opinion, so it's not a lot of people, but it has popped up, and it's been really interesting. Yep. I remember when I first announced that I wasn't a Christian, I went on IG Live, and there were a couple of comments suggesting like, oh, next thing you know, he's going to come out as gay. And I don't even know why I'm even...
And I was watching his live stream when he first announced that he was leaving the faith, and there was a few people that were saying that, again, unsolicited. He never said anything remotely close to his sexuality having anything to do. He didn't give any reasons. He just was being honest with his audience.
I'm giving this a voice, but I just saw another comment recently.
Now, I think this was from my channel. I could be wrong, but he's probably seen this other places. But the fact that he responded directly to this claim on my video, so that's why I'm even connecting the two together. And it's a ridiculous claim. It's ridiculous, and I don't know what it's the oldest like. Yeah, I don't get that.
If someone's suggesting the same thing, and this has kind of spouted up a few things, a few times here and there. I think at this point, because I don't feel I owe anything to the church, and I feel so free in what I am right now, where I'm at in my life right now. Like, if I was gay, cool. 2, I would have told y'all a long time ago. Like, it would have been pretty evident. Like, it's not like I'm holding my cards close to my chest. And it's this like, it's the weirdest gaslighting cycle that you can get caught up into. Because then, if you act surprised by the accusation, they're like, "Oh, I'm sorry to trigger you. See, he got real defensive about it." It's like, no, it's just annoying that someone would project onto your sexuality with literally no evidence.
Literally no evidence. Yeah, completely agreeing with you, bro. That one's the most absurd, and it is a real thing. He's not capping.
It's just the weirdest thing. But I think, again, it falls under the greater umbrella that Christians, oftentimes, they want to explain your exit by saying there's some sort of sin, some sort of scandal, some sexual scandal. They're not used to people just leaving on good terms or just peaceful terms.
So yeah, the line he draws through it is Christians aren't used to people leaving the faith on positive terms, which there's truth to that. And also, I just don't think we handle conflict well. We don't handle how to view a person, especially someone that leaves the faith. We don't know how to view people that are in the faith. We don't even know how to see the best in a person that is a part of the household of faith, let alone know someone that's leaving it. I mean, my goodness.
It's like, oh, it had to be some sort of some sexual struggling within himself, and in the worst kind of sexual struggling to Christians, the homosexual kind. I don't get it. I don't get it. But what all three of these things have in common is that they all sort of belittle the intellectual capacity of people when they leave Christianity. Again, the first reason being a very emotional one. Oh, they left because of church hurt. Rather than, no, which kind of alludes to the reason why I left very generally. I just don't find Christianity intellectually tenable. The cognitive dissonance became too much to try to hold together in my mind, to fight away. It just doesn't hold water to me.
So that was his reason. It sounds simple, but obviously it's way more complex. And even on that view of just like it was an intellectual thing, like it's a lot more than it's intellectual, but like the amount of studying, he talks about how he's, spent so many years of his life, in apologetics and really studying this out. And so there you go. You got your reasons. Not because of his sexuality. It's not because of a desire to sin. It wasn't a sin struggle, per his words. And all those other reasons that he named, it wasn't. So why I agree with him on this point, I don't agree with his decision or his conclusion of the Christian faith, but we're not going to talk about that today. That's another conversation. Videos that I do because I'm actually interested in, or if it's a situation like this where someone tells me to check something out and I check it out and I think it's worth looking at, I make a video out of it. But if you look at my channel, my channel's not like blowing up or anything by any means. Like I have modest numbers, probably low in most cases, but I do genuinely what I'm interested in. And if I feel like it's something that people will be interested in watching or hearing my commentary on. So when it comes to someone like Joseph Solomon, I genuinely feel like the message that we all should take from this is not leave the faith, obviously, but simply put, we have to listen. We have to do a better job listening to people. And if we're really followers of God, spirit-filled believers, and we are not willing to listen, like, I don't get that. Like, that's so weird, but it's true. I can speak for myself. Like, we struggle to listen. Actually, what did he say was the reason? And if he didn't give a reason, don't spend all your time trying to figure out what the reason was or coming up with gossip, talking about his sexuality and stuff like that, or it must be some sin he just doesn't want to talk about, or he's going to come out as this, or the church hurt, or the white evangelicals, all these different things. No, and he's not even saying all those things that I just named factored in. No, he's saying it was truly intellectual. And I think this anti-intellectualism that exists in the church is a huge deterrent of people, and it hurts people that are believers because they think anything that's not scripture is not congruent with scriptures. And that's how a lot of people carry their lives. They're just completely opposed to thinking for themselves about things and coming to their own conclusions. And that can never be a factor. I've made the mistake and I repent for going straight to church hurt. Now, my assumption, and his assumption that I've made for people in the past was, well, if you're talking about something and it seems like it really bothers you, and then a decision to leave the faith comes up, it's easy to draw connections based on what you're talking about. And I think that's what happened with like Joseph for me personally. So Joe, I think I saw that you've given commentary on these various things and have had personal experiences. And so I guess I connected the dots in a way that I shouldn't have. And I will say that someone like me, maybe I did belittle your capacity to put those aside and not blame that on God or the church and say, no, there's something deeper intellectually that I'm wrestling with and experiencing cognitive dissonance in for you. And if that's the simple answer to it, then we should respect it. Doesn't mean we stop praying for him or stop caring for him or he's directly now an enemy. I think we show love like we are called to, because the Bible even says, let's say Joe, I don't believe he is. I don't believe this. But let's say Joseph Solomon is an enemy. What does the Bible say to do with our enemies? It says to love our enemies, but I don't even believe he's an enemy. So those are my thoughts on this. I just wanted to share this. Again, I don't even do these type of videos mainly because I don't see them as fruitful. You never know what a person is going through, and I don't want him. The fact that my video even circulated to him, what that shows me is that he is open to hearing different perspectives and different opinions on his views. A lot of us wouldn't do that. A lot of us wouldn't want to hear those divergent views or feel as secure in it. So I do applaud him for even being open to seeing different people's perspectives on what he is saying. So, and I hope that if anything that ever comes by to him, I may not ever do a video on him, that maybe, who knows? But the point is, I would hope that whenever he hears a Christian give commentary on what he's saying, that it is grounded in scripture, but also grounded and seasoned with the love of God, which I believe still is real according to the scriptures. I still believe the love of God as defined in the scriptures is accurate. I think it is. I think Jesus is, truly God. So it comes down to this for me. We have to do a better job of showing love. Those are my thoughts on this. Hopefully you all enjoyed this, but do me a favor before we head out, hit that thumbs up, make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on any notifications. And let me know your thoughts.
Glocks loaded at the opponent, I'm a reach. Stop sewing to get a bonus, that's a reach. I was born to meet the moment, so what? Feast, no lie, feast, you know what? Feast, Glocks